What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and this Forgotten Fridays we're going to take a look at a deck inspired by our theme deck Thursday, and it's going to be a disruption deck, kind of a stun deck if you will, based on Whiscash. This is the Amnesia Whiscash from Primal Clash, and his main feature we're going to be using is his one colorless energy attack that does 20 damage base and lets you pick one of the defending Pokemon's attacks, and they can't use it during the next turn. But for a double colorless and a water, he can also hit for 60 and gets a coin toss chance of dealing 90, which allows him to kind of finish people off if needs be. And of course, if he gets quickly KO'd at 100 HP, he only coughs up one prize. So, not bad at all. Pretty good return for the effort usually. We're running 4 Barboach to support our 4 Whiscash. And his partner in crime, as you've probably guessed, is Seismitoad EX. And for those of you who've been watching back to the beginning, you probably already suspected this. The deck's going to be double colorless and water energy only. And that's pretty much it. And I shouldn't have to explain Seismitoad EX by now. So, not going to bother. We're running 4 Professor Juniper to support this, or Professor Sycamore, but I'm going to run, even though this is for the new format, I'm going to run Juniper until the very day I can't. So, Sycamore for those of you who want to be new format, and Juniper for those of you who like full art cards that look really good. I'm running 4 Shauna. This can easily be 4 Professor Birch's observations, or you can run 2 and 2, because we do run pretty heavy Versus Seekers in this deck. Either way is fine. It's kind of a choice card. I kind of like Shauna a little bit better, especially since we're going to draw a little heavily in our deck, and we don't want to deck out quite so easily. I like the control of Shauna, and I like that guaranteed 5th card. So for me, it's going to be for Shauna. We're running 1 teammates because our Whiscashes and Barboaches can easily be chump blocks, and our opponents can take them out. This is a great way for us to maintain control of the game the turn after with teammates. Can help us get a double colorless energy or whatever we need to make things happen. We're running 2 copies of Team Flare Grunt. Kind of an unusual card, but I wanted guaranteed energy removal since we can't Lysander's trump card anymore, obviously. And this can be a very good way to maintain control of the game, make your opponent have to make tough choices about powering up their active Pokemon or their benched Pokemon, etc. And we're running 2 plus the Versus Seekers, so this can be a pretty effective strategy at shutting down a lot of opponents who rely on special energies. Speaking of energy removal, we're also running 1 copy of Xerosic. And he can also take off things, annoying tools like flare gear and stuff like that your opponent may attach to our pokes, or at least to our Seismitoad EXs. And of course we can recur him, and he takes out special energies as well. So pretty flexible there. We're also running Az, or AZ, whatever the heck you want to call him. This can be a great way to recover Seismitoad EX. That's pretty much the main reason he's here. He can help us in the mirror match against other Seismitoad decks, especially let them kind of chip him down just when he's about to be in range. You can AZ him, bring him back, put up your next Seismitoad EX or your Whiscash, and just keep chipping away at him. So that's a very good card, and also a Versus Seeker target as needs be, as you can. In the mirror match, obviously, Versus Seeker for him is a little bit tougher, but opportunities can be made. We're also, our final supporter is Lysander. Pretty obvious, speaks for itself by now. It's a great way to pick up KOs, picking off Pokemon on the bench with lower HP, so on and so forth. It can be used defensively, but mostly it's used to end games, of course. And as far as our non-supporters go in the trainer division, we got 4 muscle bands because both our Pokemon really want to use this. Seismitoad EX can hit for 150 with his Grenade Hammer with this, so very powerful. And obviously, Quaking Punch for 50 and Amnesia for 40 are quite good as well. It's the obvious item of choice for our Pokemon. We're also opting for a whopping 4 Versus Seekers. I know it seems like a lot, and it is. But the main reason is so that we can get those utility supporters back for many, many uses. Things like Xerosic and Team Flare Grunt, as Lysander, those cards, we want to get them back and keep reusing them. Also, of course, it's good for teammates, because we're looking for some fairly long, slow, control-based games, so these 4 Versus Seekers will be very useful for us. And speaking of which, we're opting for 3 Trainers Mail just to make sure we kind of get our good start and hit the cards we need. We don't have a lot of one-ofs, but this is just sort of to up our consistency a little bit, so we fit 3 of these in. Late game, it's not quite so useful, but it's pretty good early to mid. We do have 1 Professor's Letter, speaking of which, just to make sure we can get our energies. This is mostly something that's a trainer mail target and a card drawing target early in the game. That way Whiscash can still attack because he just wants 1 water, obviously. It doesn't help Seismitoad EX as much, and that's why we've only got the 1. And no Ultra Balls, obviously, because we can always just go one better in Dive Ball, because we don't really have any need for discarding cards with Ultra Ball, and there's nothing the Dive Ball doesn't get in this deck. So Dive Ball is the obvious choice, and 3 is mainly just for consistency, because we don't want our Barboaches to stay Barboaches. We want them to turn into Whiscashes just as soon as we can. And we always want access to our Seismitoad EX as well. Our stadium of choice is going to be 3 copies of Rough Seas. This just gives us that much more control. Obviously, play it a little bit more carefully in the mirror match, or against anybody who can take advantage of it against us, because our damage output is pretty low unless we're grenade hammering, although this goes very well with grenade hammer. But basically, this just gives us that much more control because it makes us much harder to chip down, and it makes Whiscash surprisingly durable. So this is a very good choice. You could opt for 4. I'm just going for 3. Because of our control scenario, and we don't necessarily have to have 4, but I can see 4 if you wanted to go that route. We've also gone for 2 escape ropes. Our Pokemon have embarrassingly high retreat costs, and if we need to get the heck out of dodge, we can use these. And it's easy for us also to use this to force our opponent's active Pokemon out, and we can easily replace our active with another Pokemon since ours are so easy to prepare to do what they got to do. We can escape rope to mess them up and just bring up another Pokemon that does pretty much the same thing as the one we just switched out. So escape rope is definitely our switch of choice. And I have opted for 1 enhanced hammer just to kind of fill out our energy removal suite, if you will. I like enhanced hammer over crushing, obviously, because of the coin toss problem. Since we can't just endlessly cycle them with trump card now, I like the guarantee of enhanced hammer, but if we're against an opponent who doesn't use the special energies, the one doesn't really hurt. I just kind of wanted to improve that and use a non-supporter for energy removal there. And this last item is kind of an unusual one. It's Pal Pad. But if we go through our deck pretty quickly and start getting to the late game, this can be an amazing way to not only stock our deck for a couple of turns, but also get some very crucial supporters back, especially if our Versus Seekers are gone. It's a bit of an unusual choice, but I do support it. Like I say, it restocks our deck, and it can allow us to use those utility supporters at crucial junctures late in the game to inflict some real damage on our opponents. Retrieving AZ, Team Flare Grunt, and Zerosic especially can be very damaging late game when our opponents may be struggling to put together an offensive against us after we've drained their energy a bit already and given them such a rough game as it is. So I do want to opt for one of those, just kind of to try it out. I think it could be really useful. And our energy curve, we got 12, and it is 4 double colorless energies and 8 water energies. And that's pretty much the whole shebang. And so that is our Whiscash deck, our Whiscash Seismitoad EX deck that most people are probably not going to enjoy playing against. But you know what? Control decks are like that, and control decks are part of the environment, and it can be a lot of fun to play. And I think this could easily take a local or maybe just a bit more. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more Pokemon content.